Welcome to the show of Women's Strength Society, and in today's episode we are going to speak about how to train in a fat loss phase.
Which is an actually quite hot topic.
Is it?
Yeah, I have the feeling that always when I'm writing about it, like always when I publish some content around that topic, it's always very, very popular.
Okay.
It seems like to be a hot topic.
Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of people are confused how to train in a fat loss phase. It's like, I want to lose some weight now, and now what I'm doing with my training? Should I switch to light weights, high reps? Yeah, it's a very common question, and also I think the mindset shifts from, now I'm in a deficit and I don't have that much energy and I can't push that hard and I need to bring down like volume and intensity.
And maybe the last one would be, should I only do cardio to burn fat?
Yeah, and this is also one.
Yeah.
Is it more effective to do cardio only because it burns more calories per hour than strength training?
Cool. Okay, so maybe we are just going to start at the beginning, which I'm always a fan of. And the beginning would be just to define what is the goal of training. And the goal of training, of strength training, is not to burn calories, but it is to build muscle, or in a fat loss phase, then to retain muscle mass. And if you go into your training with the mindset of I'm going to use training as a mean to lose body fat, then you've already lost.
Yeah, and we see it actually quite a lot with people that have like no experience with like strength training. Yeah. Also that are coming to us for like personal training or stuff like that they think like, hey, now it's the time in this session I need to sweat a lot. I need to burn a lot of calories. And then when they look up maybe on their smartwatch, how many calories they have burned, then they're like quite disappointed.
Yeah, because it's not that much.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is that? Why is that a problem?
Why is that a problem?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why is that a problem?
Yeah, why is that a problem to focus only or like mainly on how many calories you burn with your training during a fat loss phase?
Because that's like the training is not there to burn the calories. Yeah. The training is there to retain the muscle mass in the deficit. And we want to create the deficit through the nutrition.
Yeah.
So this is like the nutrition part is there to bring the body fat down.
Yeah.
And the training is there to build up the muscle mass.
So that's one reason. And then the other reason is also because when you focus on how much calories you burn during your training, if this is a metric you are tracking, then you are going to be motivated to burn more calories during training. Sorry. And if you burn a lot of calories during your training, it doesn't mean that you've done a very good job at building or maintaining your muscle mass, because you can do a lot of stuff that is going to burpees. You can skip rest. You can add some exercise just to increase like the heart rate and how many calories you burn. And it doesn't mean that you've really trained your muscle. That's one thing. And then the other thing is it has a price. So when you do this, it means that you are going to be fatigued, that you are going to need quite a lot of recovery from that. And especially in a moment where you try to lose body fat and you are eating less, then your recovery is not going to be optimal, and this is not a very good combination.
Yeah, and this is actually what you see when people are doing like in between the sets. They're doing some burpees or air squats or whatever. Yeah. That's what people do. Like they don't take the rest between the back squats they are doing, but they are doing then some fancy stuff just to be like keep on moving.
Yeah, and burning those
Yeah,
calories.
and these people are, I think, for sure, watching how many calories they burn through the training session.
Okay, so first thing is you don't want to use your training as a mean to burn calories in order to lose fat. That's first basic step. Then the second one is you should not do extra stuff during your training to burn more in between sets, or add more stuff to your training so that you burn more calories,
or that you feel like more exhausted.
Yeah,
I think also people are adding more and more sets
so that they feel a bit tired.
Yeah, they're more exercises, even more exercises, more sets.
Okay, so now we are going to speak about what you should do during a fat loss phase.
Yeah.
So what would be like the main your first approach?
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Straightforward. Keep the training the same.
Okay.
So you want to keep the training the same. You will train the same if you are like in a hypertrophy phase. You want to build muscle. Or if you are in a fat loss phase and you want to lose body fat. And I think not only your training needs to stay the same, but also your mindset, like how you approach your training session, how you're going into the training session. I think it's important to think or have the mindset of someone who is well fed and who can push in the gym.
Yeah, and wants to build muscle.
You should go into the session with the goal to build muscle.
Is that something that's possible in a fat loss phase to still build muscle, or is that something that's not possible?
Possible for someone who is new to training, pretty newbie, or who's getting back to training. Could do like a body recomposition phase at the beginning. Yeah.
Someone who uses performance enhancing drugs, it's also a context where something like this is possible.
Yeah.
And I also think that it's possible to, I have a story. So there was one study that was done where people received placebos. Both of them, both of the groups. And one group, they were told this is a placebo. And then the other group, they were told this is anabolica, like steroids. And the group that received the placebo, no, both group got the placebo, but the one who was told that they got the placebo had an increase in strength that was 2 to 3 times lower than the group that was told it was steroids what they were given. And so the point here is just like how powerful your mind is and your beliefs are. So if you go into the gym with the mindset, also in a fat loss phase, also with the mindset of I'm going to build muscle in that phase, maybe you are not going to build like a lot of muscle, but you are definitely going to be better off than expecting in that phase to not be able to retain your muscle.
Yeah, to lose muscle or to get weaker. Because I see it with a lot of clients that are going into a cutting phase. And I had like one story, it was two weeks ago, I think. A woman started her cutting phase, and after the first or second week, like in the cut, she was like, I'm noticing. I'm noticing a bit like getting a bit weaker and stuff like that. And I was like, that's really bullshit, because that's 100% just made up in your mind. If you have done a long building phase before and you have eaten a lot of food and you still have some body fat and you're not super shredded already, you shouldn't get weaker like in the first weeks of your cut. And it was very important for her to get the message from me and the hint, like, hey, you need to think like you're in a building phase and you have enough energy to go through your sets and through your training session.
That's a very, very important point you're talking about right now, is So at some point, it's going to be very difficult to keep up with the strength and to be able to have like the same performance as when you are in a calorie surplus. But this is something that happens after a long diet.
Yeah.
Long means like, I don't know, 16, 20 weeks.
Yeah.
24 weeks, that's almost 6 months of diet. And it's at the point where you really start to get super, super lean, and where the energy availability of your food is just insufficient, and you have almost no reserve on your body anymore. At that point, it's difficult.
Have you experienced that? Like that it was like very clear that going through the cut made you weaker?
There were some specific things that I noticed as far as the lift goes. And for example, for me, the grip strength it's something that I notice.
Yeah.
And it just goes away.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because the strength, like for an RDL, my strength stayed pretty much the same during the whole diet phase, but I could notice that when I was not using the strap, then with 80 or 90 kilo, it was already super heavy for me. Whereas in a phase where I have more energy availability, then I can hold like 100 and 110 kilos with almost no problem. And this is something that I notice very acutely.
Yeah.
Then the other thing is also bench press is definitely something that I notice. And at the beginning, it's more so the endurance during the set.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the strength stays the same, and I really have to fight more for the last few reps. And then after a long, at the end of the diet phase, then it's also like the strength that was going a bit down. Last time I went through a diet, but this is the perfect transition for our next point. Then how should we adapt the training in a fat loss phase if we need to adapt it? So we want to go into it, keep it very simple, straightforward, and basically the same as it was before, with the intention of still building muscle. At some point, are there any modification that you might do to a training plan, because it's in a cutting phase and you see that something's happening with the clients?
Maybe that the recovery is going down, or that someone is
losing strength.
Okay, never happened.
Never happened?
Never happened.
Okay, that's great.
Who lost strength? Do you remember a client that really significantly lost strength during a cut?
No, because also I think that most of our clients are not super advanced.
Yeah.
And then it means that they still have a lot of capacity for growth and gains and improvement that are also a lot neurological.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also the same for me, because in my cutting phases, I never lost strength because I'm not at a very, very high top level performance, you know?
And also because your diets were super well managed. You had very good sleep.
And I have a mindset of like, I'm pushing through.
Yeah.
I'm a beast.
Which is very, very strong in that moment.
Yeah. That's just very strong in that moment.
Yeah.
But other than that, if I'm seeing that someone is not performing well, we can do different kind of things, like bringing the volume a bit down, keeping the intensity up.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
So what I like to do, and I'm going to do in my next cutting phase, is focus more on the rep range, where like lower rep range. So it's going to be more around like 6 to 8 reps, because you need less energy during your sets for this. You don't need as much glycogen reserve in your muscles, but you still get the benefit of having a very high mechanical tension on your muscles because the weight is going to be a bit higher, and also because it's going to help have the neurological gains during that phase that you can still develop quite well in the cutting phase. And this is a switch that I'm going to make for myself in the next cutting phase.
And what do you commonly do for clients?
It really depends how they are progressing. But
because we also have some women who are like progressing super well in the deficit still.
Yeah.
Because they have so much more potential that they haven't like exhausted even before, and then they have it still in the cutting phase.
And also what I think is because they see more changes in their bodies, then they start to believe more that they can perform, that they are great, that they have
that they're doing the right things.
That they are doing the right things. So they are very bought into the process. And they go into the session with the mindset of, wow, this is so great. I'm just going to keep pulling everything out, what I can from the training session. Yeah. But what I would be mindful of is definitely stuff that is very metabolically demanding.
Yeah.
So superset for the same muscle group, for example. So that would be you do a squat and then directly afterwards you do a leg extension. This is something that I would be cautious. And again, so it may be that some people respond super well to it. Others not. So if I see that the sleep, that the digestion, that the drive and motivation to train goes steeply down. After we've done a few of the sessions, then I'm going to change that definitely.
And would you still do low rep ranges, like below 6? Would you that do in a cutting phase too, like strength-based work more?
I think it depends on the exercise as well.
Yeah.
This is definitely something that I would do on exercises that are very taxing for your nervous system.
Would do?
I wouldn't. I would reduce the number of reps. So I would prefer a lower rep scheme for like RDS or deadlifts, maybe even for the squats, just because the fatigue from those exercises are going to be a bit higher, and you don't have as much energy available in your nutrition in that case. So this is something that I would keep in check. Yeah. But again, like if somebody responds well to it, then we are going to push that. There was one client that responded super well to a higher volume in her cutting phase. And then this is just what we did. Yeah. So it was 12 to 15 reps for big movements. Yeah. And we started with less set at the beginning of the training cycle, and then we ended with a bit higher sets at the end. Yeah. And it was what was needed. She responded super well to it. So this is what we did. Yeah. And it's cool to see that not every client is the same, and that when you're coaching clients, that the trial and error doesn't end. Like there is not one perfect training program that you can go through when you are in a fat loss phase, and like this is the fat loss phase training program everyone needs to do. It's more finding the right what? Combination. The right combination of the different like training variables. Yeah. And then monitoring the recovery of the person. There's one thing though that we do in fat loss phase is to add some cardios at some point.
And steps.
Yeah, and steps. So maybe you can tell us a bit about that.
More cardio and steps?
Yeah, more cardio and stuff.
Yeah, we definitely have seen that steps play a huge role in the progress, in the like rate of loss. Yeah. Weekly rate of loss of the clients. Like 10,000 steps is like the first benchmark we start with. But we see also that at like 12,000 reps, around 12,000
steps.
Steps?
12,000 reps. Ooh.
Reps is a bit too much. Steps.
High reps, low load.
Yeah, high reps, low load. 12,000 steps. That it's working even better.
Yeah.
And then there is a point where it's going the opposite direction, and it's like 16,000 reps. For some people can be like too much. Steps.
Again?
Sorry.
No worries.
I'm thinking about reps all the time. I don't know why.
Okay, so 15,000 steps.
Steps.
Yeah.
Sorry. And I've experienced that on my own. When I had my last dieting phase, I increased my steps. Like it was not on purpose. It was like one day where we walked like a lot, and I had like 16,000 steps in. And the other day I was so fucking hungry. Like all of the time I couldn't like manage my hunger pretty well with all the meals I had, and like how I put more volume in my foods and stuff like that, and drink more water. But I really experienced doing more steps, like more than maybe needed to drive results was too much. And then I was like having some cravings, more hunger and I was like, why I'm so hungry? Like the training is the same, everything is the same. And then I realized, hey, I did a lot more steps.
This is interesting because this is also something that's individual. Yeah. And for me, I remember to have the same kind of experience as you just described when I was approaching 20,000 steps a day. Yeah. And for me, this was just too much. With 15, it was actually quite good because I had a very good rate of loss. Maybe next time I'm going to go a bit more defensively about it, but it also really helped to reduce my hunger. So for me, I think it's a bit higher. It may be because I have big past of endurance sports training with the swimming. Yeah. In my earlier life, but this is something that makes a big difference. So in a fat loss phase, then really try to have this emphasis on doing the steps every day. And sure, it helps when you do it also works when you do it across the whole week, and your average is around 10,000 steps.
But it's not the same.
But it's not the same. And what we really observe is that people that are super consistent with the steps on a daily basis, they just have a better rate of loss, and everything runs a bit better, a bit differently. And then the last thing that we also do is the cardio.
Added cardio. Yeah.
So
also dependent on the client. I mean, we also always need to take into consideration how much time does the person have. For the steps, you can really put a treadmill under your desk. We have a lot of women like that are having maybe business meetings, and they have this treadmill under the desk, and one is already called by her colleagues like penguin, like a penguin, because she's like always like walking like this
during the Zoom calls.
But she's like, hey, I'm fine with that. I'm doing my 15,000 steps there during my work day, which is pretty great. And then for the cardio, we need to see how much time is left, but we prefer to have it on a different day than the strength training. And then we most of the time start with like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
And it's light cardio. It's not
light cardio, low intensity, steady state cardio. Most of the time on the treadmill, maybe with a bit of an incline. Or on the bike, we have an air bike here. But yeah, something where you can move your body.
Yeah, and this is something that might increase during the cut, during the fat loss phase, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah,
it always depends on the progress. What is sure, I don't like to use that word, but what is pretty certain is that we try to really keep cardio and strength training separated, because people do also a lot of circuit training.
Yeah.
And so you are actually strength training, but you also have like a very high demand on your cardiovascular system, and you do burn more calories when you do it, but it's most of the time not so great for the strength training part, and it's also not that great for the cardio part.
Yeah, it's like something in between.
Yeah.
You don't get the best out of your cardio, and you also don't get the best out of your strength training session. So we want to keep that separated.
And this is something that we might do when, for example, we are a bit short on time, or like people are a bit short on time. But in an ideal world, we want to keep them separated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
do you have anything left to add? Takeaway. The
takeaway, train as you are eating enough calories and you're not in a deficit.
Yeah.
Don't watch calories burned from your like strength training sessions.
Yeah, use your nutrition to create the deficit, not the training.
Watch your steps and add cardio if needed on top, but the strength training should be the priority here during the fat loss phase if you really want to transform your body and have a different look. And as Yannick said, use the nutrition to create the deficit.
Yeah. So we just give away basically like how to coach yourself. In the fat loss phase.
Free content for you.
So
share it.
If you enjoyed it and found it helpful, then please subscribe, leave a review, share it with your friends that also want to lose weight and get in shape. And if you did find it helpful, then please also leave us a comment or ask questions.
Give us feedback. We want to know.
Yeah, that being said, have fun with it, and till next time.
Bye-bye.